The Mongol Empire, one of the largest and most powerful empires in history, rose to prominence under the leadership of Genghis Khan in the 13th century. With its sweeping conquests across Asia, Europe, and the Middle East, the Mongols seemed unstoppable. Their military prowess and innovative tactics made them feared by many. Yet, despite their vast reach and determination, there was one place that the Mongol Empire could never conquer: Japan. Why didn't the Mongols succeed in their attempts to conquer Japan? To understand this, we must travel back in time to the 3rd century, a period of great change for both Japan and the Mongol Empire. The story of why Japan wasn't conquered by the Mongol Empire is a tale of military might, nature's intervention, and the strength of the Japanese people. Chapter 1. The Rise of the Mongol Empire. Genghis Khan, born as Temujin in 1162 on the vast, rugged steppes of Mongolia, grew up in a world defined by tribal warfare and shifting alliances. From a young age, he experienced the brutality of life on the plains. His father was poisoned, and his family was left to fend for themselves. But Temujin's will to survive and his strategic mind set him apart. By the time he was in his 30s, he had united the Mongol tribes, not by brute force alone, but by his ability to foster loyalty among his followers and build a sense of unity. As the leader of the Mongols, Genghis Khan revolutionized warfare. He created a military system that relied on speed, discipline, and ingenious tactics, making the Mongols one of the most formidable fighting forces the world had ever seen. His cavalry, especially the mounted archers, could cover vast distances at incredible speeds, overwhelming enemies before they even had time to react. Under his command, the Mongol Empire expanded at an astonishing rate, stretching from the Pacific Ocean in the east to the Caspian Sea in the west. By the time of his death in 1227, it was the largest contiguous empire in history, covering over 24 million square kilometers. After Genghis Khan's death, his legacy lived on through his descendants, especially his grandson, Kublai Khan. Kublai took control of China, establishing the Yuan dynasty in 1271. But his ambitions didn't end there. Having conquered the heart of Asia, Kublai set his sights on Japan. His desire to extend Mongol rule to the islands of Japan marked the beginning of one of the most audacious and challenging military campaigns in Mongol history. Chapter 2. The First Mongol Invasion of Japan, 1274. In 1274, Kublai Khan, eager to expand his empire even further, set his sights on Japan. Having already conquered vast territories like China, Korea, and parts of Central Asia, Japan seemed like the next logical target. Kublai, confident in the power of his Mongol forces, decided to send a massive fleet to invade the island nation. The fleet was formidable, carrying tens of thousands of soldiers, and was supported by the forces of Korea, which was under Mongol control as a vassal state. With the Mongols' reputation for swift and brutal conquests, the Japanese were understandably concerned. However, Japan was not an easy target. At the time, Japan's military was dominated by the samurai elite warriors, bound by a code of honor and discipline. These samurai were known for their superior skills in combat, particularly their mastery of archery and swordsmanship, as well as their unyielding loyalty to their lords and land. Their commitment to defending their homeland was unwavering, and they were ready to face the Mongol threat head-on. When the Mongol fleet landed at Hakata Bay on the island of Kyushu, the Mongols quickly set up their base and began advancing inland. They expected an easy victory, but were met with fierce resistance. Though the samurai were outnumbered, their battle tactics were highly effective. They used their knowledge of the terrain, their fortifications, and their superior skills in hand-to-hand combat to slow the Mongol advance. Despite their superior numbers and tactics, the Mongols found themselves struggling to make headway against this unexpected resistance. But what truly turned the tide in favor of the Japanese was nature itself. As the battle raged on, a powerful typhoon struck, devastating the Mongol fleet. Ships were destroyed, and many soldiers were lost to the storm. The Mongols, who had once been certain of their victory, were forced to retreat, their ambitions dashed by both the strength of the samurai and the wrath of the elements. This first Mongol invasion ended in a humiliating defeat, and Japan was saved, at least for the time being, by a combination of human resilience and divine intervention. Chapter 3. The Divine Wind, the Kamikaze. In the summer of 1274, The Mongol fleet, carrying tens of thousands of soldiers, made its way toward Japan. After landing on the shores of Akata Bay in Kyushu, the Mongols began their advance, expecting a swift victory over the Japanese defenders. However, just as the Mongols were starting to solidify their position, something unexpected happened: a violent storm. This storm, known as the kamikaze, or divine wind, struck with such force that it obliterated much of the Mongol fleet. The powerful winds and crashing waves destroyed dozens of Mongol ships, sending them to the bottom of the sea, while many soldiers were drowned. The invasion, which had been months in the making and required a huge investment of resources, was suddenly thrown into chaos. The Mongols, who were used to conquering lands with military precision, found themselves at the mercy of nature's wrath. For the Japanese people, this event was not merely a coincidence but a sign from the gods. The storm was seen as divine intervention, a miraculous force sent to protect their homeland from foreign invaders. In Japan, the term kamikaze came to symbolize this divine protection, a wind sent from the heavens to thwart the Mongol threat. It was believed that the gods were watching over Japan, ensuring its safety from those who sought to conquer it. Kublai Khan, shaken by the defeat and unable to recover from the loss, was forced to retreat. Tens of thousands of Mongol soldiers had perished in the storm, and his dreams of expanding the Mongol Empire to Japan lay in ruins. The Mongols had miscalculated their enemy's resolve and underestimated the power of nature itself. For Japan, the kamikaze was not just a storm, it was a reminder of their divine protection and an enduring symbol of resilience. Chapter 4: The Second Mongol Invasion of Japan, 1281. Kublai Khan, the grandson of Genghis Khan, was not a ruler who easily accepted defeat. Despite the disaster of the first invasion in 1274, he was determined to try again. In 2081, he launched an even more ambitious campaign, assembling a fleet that dwarfed the first. This time, the Mongols brought with them not only soldiers from China and Korea but also reinforcements from across their empire. The Mongol fleet, numbering around 140,000 men, was an immense force by the standards of the time, and Kublai Khan believed this would be the invasion that finally brought Japan to its knees. The fleet set sail towards Japan, once again targeting Kyushu, the island that had been the point of the Mongol landing in the previous campaign. As the Mongol ships approached the shores of Japan, the Japanese defenders, particularly the samurai, were better prepared this time. They had learned from their previous encounter and had fortified their positions along the coast. Local lords, known as daimyos, organized the samurai to defend their homeland with even greater resolve. The Mongols, with their experience in siege warfare, launched a relentless series of attacks on the Japanese fortifications. Their overwhelming numbers and tactical expertise put the samurai under severe pressure, but the warriors of Japan, armed with their unique combat skills and unshakable determination, held firm. The battle was fierce, and the samurai, knowing the stakes, fought with courage, refusing to let their homeland fall. Then, once again, nature intervened. In the midst of the battle, a mighty typhoon, the kamikaze, struck the Mongol fleet with a ferocity that surpassed the first storm. The Mongol ships were devastated, many sinking into the sea, while thousands of soldiers perished. Kublai Khan's second invasion ended in catastrophic failure, forcing him to retreat once more. This second defeat solidified Japan's reputation as a land that could not be conquered by the Mongols. Despite Kublai Khan's vast military might, Japan's resilience, combined with nature's divine intervention, proved insurmountable. The kamikaze had, once again, protected Japan from the Mongol threat. Chapter 5: The Role of the Samurai. While the kamikaze played a pivotal role in Japan's defense, it would be a mistake to overlook the immense contribution of the samurai, the warriors at the heart of Japan's resistance. These men were far more than skilled fighters. They were the embodiment of loyalty, honor, and unwavering dedication to their homeland. In the face of overwhelming odds, the samurai stood firm, their discipline and combat abilities proving crucial to Japan's survival. The samurai adhered to a strict code of conduct known as Bushido, which placed the highest value on loyalty, courage, and honor. This code was not just a set of rules, it was a way of life, shaping every aspect of their existence. For the samurai, their loyalty to their lord and their country came before everything, even their own lives. In battle, this devotion transformed them into formidable opponents, willing to fight to the death to protect their land. It wasn't just their skill with weapons that made them so dangerous. It was their unshakable resolve and their deep connection to the ideals of Bushido. The Mongols, with their cavalry-based warfare, were accustomed to overwhelming their enemies with speed and superior numbers. Their strength lay in their ability to cover vast distances quickly, striking at enemies before they had time to organize a defense. But the samurai were trained in a very different style of warfare. They fought not only with their swords and spears but with a profound understanding of their environment, using the terrain to their advantage. Whether in the dense forests or the narrow streets of Japan's cities, the samurai knew how to use the land to outmaneuver their enemies, making the Mongol tactics less effective. While the Mongols may have been unmatched on the open plains, in Japan, they faced an entirely different kind of warrior, one who was deeply connected to his land and his culture, and who would stop at nothing to defend it. This fierce determination and battle-hardened resolve made the samurai indispensable in Japan's resistance to the Mongol invasions. Chapter 6. The Importance of Geography. Japan's geographical isolation played a critical role in its ability to resist foreign invaders, including the Mongol Empire. As an island nation, Japan was naturally protected by the surrounding sea. This vast expanse of water made it difficult for the Mongol fleet to effectively maintain supply lines or communication with their base, which proved to be a significant disadvantage. The sea not only acted as a physical barrier but also created logistical nightmares for the Mongols, who were used to operating across vast land territories. The Mongols, with their history of conquering land empires like China, had relied on their ability to march troops across open plains, capturing cities and controlling vast territories. In Japan, however, they faced the insurmountable challenge of crossing the sea to reach their target, and once on the shores, they encountered the island's rugged, mountainous terrain. Unlike the flat plains of the Mongol homelands or their other conquests, Japan's landscape was not easily traversed. The mountains and forests created natural fortifications, limiting the Mongols' ability to move swiftly or control the land. The Japanese, on the other hand, were deeply familiar with their environment. Their knowledge of the terrain allowed them to set up defensive positions and use the landscape to their advantage. The steep slopes and dense forests gave the samurai the perfect cover to launch surprise attacks on the invading forces. While the Mongols relied on rapid movement and overwhelming numbers, Japan's geography forced them to adapt, slowing their advance and making it far harder for them to establish control. This advantage of natural defense made Japan a fortress, one that the Mongols could not overcome. Chapter 7. The Divine Wind and National Identity. The idea of the kamikaze, or divine wind, became more than just a part of Japan's history. It evolved into a powerful symbol of national identity. The storms that had once shattered the Mongol fleet were no longer seen simply as a stroke of luck, but as a divine act, a sign from the gods that Japan was under their special protection. The story of the divine wind was passed down through generations, ingraining itself into the fabric of Japanese culture and reinforcing a deep sense of pride and invincibility. The idea that Japan had been saved by supernatural forces became central to the country's self-image, bolstering a belief that their land was destined to remain free from foreign domination. Over time, the kamikaze took on a deeper meaning. It was not only a symbol of divine intervention but also of Japan's resilience and unique place in the world. The belief that Japan was shielded by the gods fueled a sense of national unity, as people rallied behind the notion of being chosen to protect their homeland. This collective spirit carried through periods of turmoil and struggle, allowing Japan to remain steadfast in the face of challenges. During World War II, the legacy of the kamikaze resurfaced, but in a new and tragic form. Japanese suicide pilots, known as kamikaze, embarked on desperate missions, crashing their planes into enemy ships in a final, heroic act of sacrifice. This connection between the ancient divine winds that thwarted the Mongols and the wartime kamikaze pilots showed how the idea of divine protection and national pride had evolved over centuries. The kamikaze remained a symbol of Japan's unyielding determination and the belief that the nation was indestructible, no matter the odds. In the end, Japan's resistance to the Mongol Empire was a combination of military strategy, resilience, geography, and the power of nature. While the Mongols were formidable warriors, they were ultimately thwarted by the determination of the Japanese samurai and the divine winds that protected Japan from invasion. The story of the Mongol invasions is a testament to the strength of the Japanese people and their unwavering commitment to defending their homeland. In the words of the historian and writer Michael Yamashita, it was not just the force of arms that kept the Mongols at bay, but the spirit of a people who, against all odds, fought to preserve their way of life. Japan's resistance to the Mongol invasions remains one of the most remarkable stories in world history, a story of triumph against overwhelming odds and a reminder of the power of resilience, courage, and belief in one's homeland. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Your support helps us bring more content like this. Thanks for watching.